Hi everyone, and welcome to the Tony Tompkins Show for my Thursday afternoon feed. I'll be absent of Avery today. He has got an illness in the family, and probably we won't be hearing from him for quite some time. But we do wish Avery all the best, and hopefully he'll be back up and firing really soon. So there's a lot to talk about today, and many of you have already started the conversation, which I really do appreciate. And I'll get to as many of the questions as I can. Someone mentioned Jimmy Dore talking about this. I did see something from Jimmy earlier. Not that I would necessarily trust what Jimmy Dore has to say either. But nevertheless, here we are. We're a few days since the terrible massacre in Bondi, and we are still no closer, I believe, to a solution to the anti-Semitic problem. What I am concerned about are a couple of things, and I want to talk to you about those. Actually, one of them is, as I've put here in the question column, is Albanese angry enough? There seems to be a number of people out there, particularly on the right wing, who say that he isn't. So what do you think? Do you think Albo could have been angrier than what he was? Do you think that he could have done things differently? And if you do believe that he could have done things differently, what is it that you believe that he should have done prior to the attack? And whether you believe that him doing whatever it is you believe that he should have done, whether that would have averted the attack on Sunday. My personal belief is possibly not. But there again, we do know that the father of this group certainly was known to ASIO, and that, or the son was, pardon me, and that action probably could have been taken against him earlier. Also, are we concerned at some particular level that this will lead to a police state, as I posted in one of my previous videos? I am a bit fearful, and it's a bit sad when you are supportive of the left and you are concerned about actions that those people that are more moderate, that is the Labor Party, are likely to take in this instance, may mean at the end of the day that we are more surveilled, that we are inhibited from saying the things that we need to say or that we feel motivated to say that may prove to be anti-Semitic or may prove to be hateful in some particular way. I hope no one says anything that's anti-Semitic, but we do need to focus on the fact that the reality is that if we are anti what the IDF, Israel government, and what they're doing in Gaza, does that automatically mean that we're anti-Jewish? Now, my belief is that Julian Siegel, the person that has been driving changes around the language and so forth around anti-Semitic, actually does believe that that's the case. So would that mean that if at university you are discussing or having open discussions about democracy, or you're talking about Israel in particular and what they're doing in terms of the genocide in Gaza, does that mean that type of speech will be curtailed, that it will be prohibited because for whatever reason, talking about Israel equates to the same as talking about Jewish people and is seen as anti-Semitic? Is that the direction that we're heading? What do you think? A lot of people are online. A lot of people have started to talk about this, and I really do appreciate your conversation. And I'll do what I can today to actually have that discussion with you. But I wanted to start specifically with what I think is trying to think of the right word. What is actually happening on the right wing, and often the person that will give us the best information as to what's happening on the right, of course, is Andrew Bolt. So I've got this brief clip, and I'll just play the first moment of that clip just to set the scene as to where the right wing are going. Now, the right of politics, the Liberal Party, the Nationals, and One Nation, and others see this as an opportunity to dump on Albanese. Now, I'm not making any excuses for the government, not making any excuses for the way Albanese's handled the situation or for the fact that they could have done more to prevent such an attack. The jury is open. There will be inquiries. Those inquiries will present us with the data and the information that we require. And after that, we will then be able to make a decision. But at the moment, there is this incredible push to get rid of Albanese and hopefully, from the right wing's perspective, the Labor government. Many of them must forget that there's still over 2 years to go before another election, in which time a lot of the furor, a lot of the rage, a lot of the stuff that's been spread by Sherry Markson and others will diminish. And that whatever is implemented between now and then, if appropriate, will be an election campaign for perhaps both sides of the spectre. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? I don't. But let us know what you think about all of this. Now, I'm going to have a drink every now and again. Even though I've got the air conditioner here, where I am at the moment, it's 41 degrees. And for those of you that are overseas, that's in excess of 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's bloody hot, and the air conditioner is doing its best to be able to keep up, but it's still very thirsty work. And I've been a bit sidetracked today because I've been watching the cricket and having a wonderful time watching the English have the shit beaten out of them. So let me know what you think about Albo's approach. That's really important, I think. And I'm going to just play this brief clip of my mate, Andrew Bolt, talking about this so that you get a sense, because this is the theme. What you're about to hear is their theme about what they wish to do in relation to Albanese. So I'll just play this for you.
Albanese is finished as Prime Minister. After today, it is over for him. Now, I doubt he'll quit because, shame, it's dead in politics. He'll limp on somehow. But today it was devastating for his reputation and his authority. Let me tell you just how bad it was for him. Even before former Treasurer Josh Frydenberg paid his own tribute in Bondi to the 15 Jews slaughtered there on Sunday by 2 alleged Muslim gunmen, when he unleashed one of the most devastating condemnations of a Prime Minister I've ever heard. And I'll come to that. But Albanese is now so diminished and so scared of the righteous fury of Jews and others over his extraordinary failure to confront our lethal Jew hatred that we today witness something appalling. Our Prime Minister did not even dare show his face at the first of the funerals for the Bondi dead.
And that's the theme. The theme is now that Albo didn't turn up at the funerals. Now, there's a number of points that do need to be made. I'm not making these in his defence, but this is kind of the reality from my perspective. Albo made it quite clear that unless he was invited to attend a funeral, he would not attend. And we need to understand that if Albanese attended a funeral, it would politicise it like you would not believe. There would be people there from all sides of politics who will be issuing their advice to Ambo about what he should or should not have done. It would be an untenable situation, I reckon, for him to have attended any of those ceremonies, and it would simply politicise it. To have other people from other side of politics attend is a different issue. But when you're the government and you're held in some elements of society, you're held responsible for it, then you are going to be lampooned. There's no disputing that whatsoever. So I can understand Albanese's choice not to go. In a press conference today, of which I'm going to show part thereof in just a moment, it was evident that he had made an enormous effort to contact the families who have lost loved ones. And he'd met with them in their homes. I think the truth of the matter is that whatever Albo has done, he has done it in silence. He has done it without the theatrics that we get from other side of politics. Now, I appreciate Josh Frydenberg being as upset as he was and expressing his emotions in the way that he was. I'm sure had I been there, I would have done exactly the same thing. It would have been a very emotional experience. I understand that, and being Jewish, and him being Jewish, I particularly understand that as well. But I think we need to understand also that to make a decision not to politicise it also takes a great deal of courage, something we do not see from the other side of politics, and it is shameful. But the government has chosen to make some decisions which I believe will make a difference in this space. And in a moment, I'll just play a little bit of Albanese talking about the changes in those decisions, the changes which will effectively make changes. But let us be wary that any of the changes that the government makes at this particular point in time, one could view as a knee-jerk reaction. Now, he's been criticised for not having made enough and significant changes with regard to the Siegel recommendations. And there could be a solid argument to suggest that he perhaps could have done, or the government could have done more. I often find it fascinating, though, that it's only after a crisis that we find the space to be able to recognise the mistakes. And, if this hadn't happened, what would we be talking about today? It'd be something completely and totally different. And I can tell you now that the Liberal Party and those on the right are particularly excited about this opportunity because the news has been so vacuous in terms of information that it could offer, that the reality is that there was nothing happening that gave them anything to be able to attack, or not very much anyway, to attack Albanese over. It was about affordability, it was about the crisis in terms of affordability, it was about energy prices, and all that stuff seemed to have died away as we're heading towards Christmas, as a lot of the news tends to do. But now we've got something exciting to talk about. We've got a catastrophe, a massacre, the worst of the worst has happened. And of course, the right wing have to use that to be able to politicise it as best as they can. So I'm going to play this video for you, which is about Albanese talking about the changes that they now plan to make. And I think this is important for us to understand.
The IRA definition of anti-Semitism that the government adopted. Today, I'm announcing a significant number of additional actions to build on the plan. Firstly, the Attorney-General and Minister for Home Affairs will develop a package of legislative reforms to crack down on those who spread hate, division and radicalisation. The National Security Committee has agreed that changes will include the following 5 points. Agreed changes will include: 1. Aggravated hate speech offence for preachers and leaders who promote violence. Secondly, increased penalties for hate speech promoting violence. Thirdly, making hate an aggravating factor in sentencing crimes for online threats and harassment. Fourthly, developing a regime for listing organisations whose leaders engage in hate speech promoting violence or racial hatred. And fifthly, developing a narrow federal offence for serious vilification based on race and/or advocating racial supremacy. The Minister for Home Affairs will also have new powers to cancel or reject visas for those who spread hate and division in this country, or would do so if they were allowed to come here. David Gonski has agreed to lead a 12-month task force, which will include the envoy, to ensure the Australian education system prevents, tackles and properly responds to anti-Semitism. The East Safety Commissioner, the Special Envoy and the Department of Communications will work together to provide online safety advice to address anti-Semitism. This builds on the extension in MyEFO as well, all of these measures, of funding to provide overall security support to the Jewish community, including at places of worship. I can also announce today the disaster recovery funding arrangements will be triggered in response to the attack. So the Commonwealth and New South Wales will share the financial burden of the recovery. This is the first time that the DRFA has been used for a terrorist attack. This will provide support to victims, their families and small business impacted in the wake of the Bondi Beach terror attack. Over the coming days, I'll have more to say about the government's response to Sunday's atrocity, including on gun control, and I note that New South Wales is moving on that next week.
So, in that, Albo highlighted a number of areas which need to be addressed. Now, often we don't know what to do about circumstances which we have not seen. That there are occasions when we must take action because the information that we've then been provided is important. Now, what we're going to do around anti-Semitism, look, how one combats what other people think and the way they gather around like-minded people is a question for all of us to ponder. Do people, when they're in their own home, have inappropriate conversations about a range of things they probably don't talk about in public? Yeah, I think they probably do. You know, guys at the pub will often say inappropriate and misogynist things about women, but will not say those things in their own home. You know, and I can think of a whole host of examples where I know that happens. Do men who have belonged to a extreme right Islamic faith, do they, and they've been radicalised, do they have those conversations? Of course they have those conversations. They have those conversations with like-minded people. Will ASIO be listening in on those conversations? Probably not most of the time, unless they know about those people and know they're being radicalised. The important issue that has been raised, which to me is the most significant, is that if an imam or someone says something, or someone in authority says something that is deemed anti-Semitic or hate speech, then there will be legislation which will be designed to punish them. And I think that is appropriate. When people say things at rallies and it's recorded that they're saying things, or they're even flying inappropriate flags or holding up inappropriate slogans, will that be met as race speech? And I hope to some extent that it does. But does it prevent people like myself and many others and hundreds of thousands of people that walked across Sydney Harbour Bridge some months ago? Will it prevent them from rallying? Will governments make choices about what rallies should or should not be held? Will they limit our freedom of speech, our ability to be able to march when we want to march, to say and to raise objections to policies that we object to? Will that be one of our restrictions? Will there be an organisation or a group of people who make those decisions that have a particular bent towards one form of ideology versus another? What will be the decisions that will be made? Who's going to make them? And who are they going to impact? They are the sort of questions that I think we need to find space to answer. Now, to be fair to Albo and the government, they've decided they were pushed about implementing some of these things. When are you going to do this? Are you going to call Parliament to power? You're going to call Parliament together and do something about it? This is the questions that have been asked. You know, if you're going to develop legislation that's going to impact the way we communicate and talk to each other, then the reality is that legislation takes a great deal of consideration. It has to be balanced against other legislation, and it has to be balanced against human rights and the rights that we all have to be able to have free speech and what that free speech should look like. Once you start to curtail that free speech in some form or another, it opens up the floodgates to limit genuine debate about the issues that actually do matter to you and to me. And I think that this is where this may be heading, and I'm fearful that it will be so restrictive that people will find that they're having to shut their mouths, not talk about issues such as Gaza, Palestine and genocide, because that will be deemed anti-Semitic. And some of Siegel's statements and what Siegel wants will probably support the notion that those sorts of things should be outlawed. The other thing that concerns me is they're going to start to step up their programs amongst universities and education systems so that universities will not be able to propagate arguments that are anti-IDF, anti-Israel. Again, a strong concern. When one does look at the statistics in relation to all of this, they are interesting. There's an interesting actually article in the conversation in relation to this. And it's fascinating to have a look at, as you can see here, the massive increases in post-2023, post-October the 7th, basically. And when one considers that anti-Semitic behaviour increased over that period of time, there is only one link we can connect to. And that link happens to be what Israel did in Gaza. And, I wrestle greatly with the notion that our speech will be curtailed, and that the winners of this debate will eventually be people like Benjamin Netanyahu, that they will be the victors, and that the rest of us will not be able to make conversations about what's happening in Gaza. It's an interesting article, this. In response to rising numbers of anti-Semitic incidents, the Albanese government appointed Siegel in July 2024 as the nation's first special envoy to combat anti-Semitism. The government also commissioned a plan with recommendations to address this. 1 year later, Siegel published her plan, which set out those recommendations. The context was highly charged, with Jewish organisations were warning to rising hate. This included hate speech, discrimination, bullying, vandalism, and physical assaults, and reported increases in both volume and severity, as we see quite clearly in this graph. Other voices pushed back, arguing the numbers were inflated, and legitimate criticism of Israel was being counted as anti-Semitism. The debate was intense, both within the Jewish community and across the wider public. And there are a number of Jewish people who have raised the issue and concern about the conflation of Gaza and anti-Semitic speech. And I did a post earlier today, which I hope some of you have had a look at, which was about an imam called the Imam of Peace, who talked about how they viewed what happened on Sunday and how they are there to support peace, that they're holding a mirror to themselves, if you like, and acknowledging that there are extreme Islamic views which are not those of Muslim people. And I think it's important for us to understand that. It goes on to say, released amid an already, I'll just bring this up again for you, if I can find the right one. Released amid an already polarised debate, the report became an additional focus point for existing disagreements. As I've written in the conversation before, a central limitation of the plan was its failure to engage with the most contested issue in public debate: how to clearly distinguish between anti-Semitism and legitimate criticism of Israel. And that's been my point all along. So a number of people have had quite a few views at this particular point. Let me know what you think in relation to this particular issue. I'm just going to switch to another issue which I want to talk about as well. And I didn't plan for this, so I'm a bit stuffed at the moment, so just bear with me for a second. And this was some interesting questions or some interesting statements, because I need to also say that I would like people to subscribe to my channel. Remember that. Ring the bell for further notifications. Let's continue to have this conversation. I'll be going through in a moment. I'll just take... so someone says less than 100,000 Jewish students. Actually, the figure's 120,000, I believe. But please subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell for further notifications. Buy me a cup of coffee. I do appreciate it. So... just wanted to have a look at this particular thing. So I had 97 comments on the one I did, the Imam of Peace. Now I don't know if I can bring these up. I'll need to change my screen a little bit for this. So bear with me while I fart around because I didn't plan to do this. And I just want to be able to talk about... whoops. I just want to be able to talk about this for a fraction. So, right. So I'm going to bring up this screen, and excuse me, people, for having to mess this around. But as I said, I didn't plan for it. I often get some really sort of positive comments in my on the comment section, and I also get some bloody terrible ones, and I'll talk about them if I can. So this is the page, and I don't know whether I've got the whole lot there, so I just need to extend that. Yes, I have. So wrong page, and I've stuffed it up. So bear with again. I do apologise. Right, this is the page. So I've got some interesting comments here. I just wanted to go through them with you if I can. And some of those, I didn't realise I was doing this while it was on here as well, so I do apologise. But so some of them are quite fascinating and quite interesting, and I just wanted to go through some of them. I hope you can see them okay. Wake up. Muslims have a special word for lying to and deceiving non-believers. They call it that. Islamic law demands the death penalty for Muslims. So they're the sort of negative comments that I get on my page, and I would dispute all of those as well. And this is where part of the problem exists. So part of the problem exists around people firmly believing that for some reason all Muslims are the same. It's like saying that all Christians are white nationalists. It's totally untrue. There are a lot of Muslims in our community who, most of them, in fact, 99% of them perhaps, believe in peace, in living together, working together, and so on. And we'd always have to remember as well that in Australia we have a nation just north of us in Indonesia, which is the mostly densely populated Muslim country on the planet. And yet that particular country doesn't invade us, doesn't express hate towards us, doesn't dislike us. In fact, it's a country that we work with to ensure security and safety in our region. And it's a country where they tend to get on okay amongst each other. I watched a post the other day with someone talking about some Baltic countries that are heavily Muslimed, and how they tolerate and they work together, and they've done that for centuries. So the reality is that we can find ways to work together, to share the lived experiences that we have, and to be able to develop a relationship with each other that is peaceful, that is loving, that is caring, that is thoughtful, that is respectful of others. These are the sorts of things I think that we should all be striving for. But there are some people who say some terrible things around some of these issues, which I need to address. So what I was doing was endeavouring to show you what some of these terrible things tended to be. And some of the conversation we've had are everything goes now, but the right wing likes to brainwash people that they are repressed and hardly done by. Don't agree with that. That's Mad Max. I think did he write that one before? No. everything goes now, but the right wing likes to brainwash, so on, that sort of stacks. Mad Max goes on. A lot of people criticised him for that. In another interview, he specifically mentioned how corrupt he is and how his ministers are so too worried about losing votes for upsetting the Islamists. Don't blame the right for politicising this when that's all Albo did a couple of hours after. And these are the types of comments I'm getting continually on my comment section. And I don't have time to rebuke all of them, but I do take exception to the fact that there are so many people clearly out there who are endeavouring to shape the debate, who cannot see it for what it is, and who breed and continue to breed the hate. And part of the development of that particular hate is about how we're seeing the politics playing out. We must do something better. We must be better so that we can develop a community that is appreciating all aspects of our community, no matter how diverse it is. This is something I think that we need to be working through. So PWR says, I'll just bring up some of these statements. The foil hats aside, I wouldn't put it past Netanyahu to engineer false flag operations, neither would I. We also go to GJ as well and see what he has to say. Pardon me, get rid of that one, bring that back. This is how long by I know. Hypothetically, what we would be talking about if it was a couple of Australian Ukrainians that opened fire on a Russian-Australian gathering, just thinking outside the box. And you know, I often wonder what it would be like. You know, in the Christchurch massacre, that was horrible. It was even worse than, is one worse than another? No, it isn't. But the number of people that were killed were greater than what were killed on Sunday. But is it something that we took note of it? We, particularly the New Zealanders, rallied together. Jacinta Ardern ensured that she addressed the issues as they happened. She was congratulated for the way that she addressed the issues. And there's an interesting comparison, I think, between what happened in New Zealand and the way it was not as politicised as what's happening in Australia right at this moment. Ardern, within 2 weeks, changed the laws in relation to guns. She ensured, in fact, that the policies and the attitudes towards Muslim people was enhanced, that she demonstrate a sense of affection and caring for those people. She wasn't shunned. She wasn't yelled at. She wasn't abused. In fact, what she did is no different, I guess, to what the Australian government are attempting to do right now. They're attempting to address the problem, to deal with it as best as they can, to not politicise it. But we live in a completely different time. Or is it because this is about the Jewish community versus the Muslim community? I don't know what the answer to that is. Maybe some of you do. But whatever happened in New Zealand, it dealt with and felt different to what's happening in Australia right now. And, you know, I think we need to address most of those issues. Just looking at some more of your statements. Talk about Ukraine. One intro sending Mossad agents into Australia a few years back on fake or stolen passports. Yep, I think I remember that. And the biggest one of all is Netanyahu. Yep, got all that. I'm not sure. I'm tired of Jews and Muslims being married to a Russian woman for 20 years. I think Ukraine and Russians are as bad as each other as well. So that's that conversation around Russians and so on. So, look, I'm I'm uncertain as to what the direction should be. I think that developing policies is a good idea, as I've expressed around Albo. Should we have done it differently? Maybe we should have. But it's always so disingenuous, I think, to start to look back, particularly on events of the past, and say, well, we could have done it differently, and then blame the people concerned for not having made the changes that could have been done prior to the event. That is just wrong at every level. It isn't that the government has ignored the issue around anti-Semitism. Jan Siegel's appointment demonstrates that. The fact that she's recommended things that haven't necessarily been followed is another. And whether or not some of those things that they chose not to follow really would have been extremely damaging or perhaps needed more foresight. So I don't know where to go with the rest of this. I'll be posting other statements and other comments about this. I do encourage you, though, to subscribe to my channel and ring the bell for further notifications. I want to be able to get to at least 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I've only got a week to do it, and I'm sitting at about 7,800 at the moment. So please subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, because it's important that we have these conversations. So let me know what you think in the comment section. And in the meantime, all I can say is that you should take care of yourself and others. Bye.